Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. To follow us on Instagram, go to No Name Music Cast Podcast. To send us an email, it's nonamemusiccast@gmail.com. And to visit our website, go to nonamemusiccast.com. Now, on with the show. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And we often have a passionate conversation prior to hitting record and play, and this evening was no different. But however, we're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about things that are great and fun and the like. So that's what we are going to do. Now, at the very top of this podcast, even before I get into my music news, I wanted to tell everybody, and I think Joy already knows about this, something I observed this week. Now, as you all know, I've had this Spotify journey. I was a naysayer, and then I was an adopter, and then now I'm an embracer. And now, apart from the CDs that I play in my front room, pretty much everything I listen to, more or less, is on the Spotify. Podcasts included. I used to use Google Podcasts. I used to use Stitcher. I used to use something else. I can't remember. But I used all kinds of podcast platforms. But now I use the Spotify podcast client. And I've noticed for a while when I listen to things like NPR podcasts or some of the other music podcasts I listen to, it would put chapters in. And some of them would have like a summary, though I think the actual podcasters would put in a summary in, and it would have a transcript. And again, I think at the very beginning, the podcasters themselves were putting that into the podcasting platforms. When we upload this podcast, or should I say when I upload this podcast, I put it into Buzzsprout, our consolidator, and I've already selected what platforms I want to publish it to, which is all of them. And then you give it a title, you give it a brief description, you say what the date you want to post it, and then you hit save. And that's pretty much my commitment to doing it, because that's all I have to do. And then it pushes it out to all these platforms. And then Joy set up a thing where it pushes it to YouTube.
Yes.
But I noticed this week, the Spotify, they are putting chapters in that summarize what we're talking about.
And it's really funny to see as a podcaster to see how they group them.
Yeah, and it's got like the timestamps in there. And it even works out like the format of our podcast, the opening remarks, the music news. We're talking about this, we're talking about that. And then it's got like wrapping up. I mean, it's absolutely remarkable. And then, of course, they've done a transcript too. So you can go through the whole episode and just read it if you want to. You don't even have to listen to it if you don't want to.
Well, if someone has a disability, like, that's a wonderful way that them engage. You know what I mean, Tim? I think it's giving accessibility to others that might not be able to if it's just an audio. But yeah, so Tim was like writing me this week. He was like, have you seen this? And I was like, yes. And I was actually kind of mesmerized because, to be honest, I'm the one always putting me and Tim off track on some lunatic related thing that no one has anything to do with anything. And I'm like, they've done a really good job of summarizing our podcast very well.
Yeah, when I last checked, it's about the last 5 or 6 episodes they've done it with. Though I got an email from, I think it was Spotify, because I'm signed up as a podcaster on there, and I think they're going back and doing like the entire catalog. I don't know how long it'll take them to do it, but it was just remarkable to see. And like I said, it's so accurate.
Wait, can we set ourselves up as podcasters on Spotify? I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah, I'm already set up.
Well, I didn't know that was an option. I guess I need to figure that out.
Yeah, I get stats, I get like tips, and you can change the genre, you can change other things. I mean, I've been in there. I've set it up, Joy.
Oh, I feel like I'm behind the times now. All right, I didn't know that was an option. All right, was there anything else you wanted to talk about, Tim, at the beginning of the episode?
Yeah, I have a couple of music news items. Now, the first one, the Rolling Stones, they're completely unstoppable. They're all nearly 80 years old.
Well, the Stones just keep rolling.
Absolutely.
All right, continue.
Yeah, they released an album in 2023 called Hackney Diamonds, which was sort of their last sort of album of original materials. So they released an album in 2005. So, of course, 22 2 odd years later, they release another album called Hackney Diamonds. Now, apparently, according to their producer, Andrew Watt, who is the rock producer of choice at the moment, they are working on new music. They are releasing some new music. Now, we don't know whether they will have enough to release a new album, but apparently there was lots of songs written for these Hackney Diamonds sessions. So maybe they will release a new album, but I don't know. The Rolling Stones releasing new music after all these years, and Hackney Diamonds was a really good album.
I mean, the thing about it is the Rolling Stones are one of those people that I've talked about very heavily on this podcast. I think logistically they have one of the most interesting, good or bad or whatever you want to call it, you could take it for everyone, the most interesting and diverse and, I guess, diversified, for lack of a better way to say it, catalogs. Like, they have such an interesting thing, and I know everybody's like, Joy, they're known as that, but they, like today, I was in my car driving home from my parents in Gay Lex, who Tim could tell you is about, what, an hour and 15 minutes away from Radford, give or take.
Sure, it's about that.
And the Rolling Stones were playing, and I was sitting there thinking about the fact that, like, it's just their ability to, like, have that soul and rock music that I just don't think you get from a lot of other artists. So it's not surprising to me that they were able to keep that into a new album.
Yeah, and it's just the fact that they're excited about making new music at this point in their career, because a lot of legacy artists will release a greatest hits. They'll have a token one track. You have Queen, where Brian May and Roger Taylor and Adam Lambert. That all they're doing is playing the hits. There's been no music whatsoever, new music whatsoever. But the Rolling Stones, they're still fired up to be writing and recording new music. It's just remarkable.
I mean, we love it. Picasso. The matter is that the thing about it is that's why I was getting at is that, like, their music is so interesting and so diverse, and their catalog is amazing. I feel like, for me personally, they're one of those bands that I think they're really in it for the music, so it's not surprising that they would be really worked up about this. Does that make sense, Tim? Like, I just get those vibes from them. Like, they are a rock band in and of itself, but they seem to be almost like musicians first and foremost, so I'm not surprised they're very excited to put out new music.
No, I mean they always have been. You know, they're not sort of I don't know, style over substance. They are the real deal. The Rolling Stones are the world's greatest rock and roll band.
I could actually agree with that. And the key is they're not a rock and roll band. I think that's important.
Yeah,
that rhythm and blues side of it really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. They are a rock and roll band. Also, more music news. On the topic of rock and roll, or maybe rock, who knows? This week, Aerosmith and Yungblud, who is someone I've never heard of.
That was my music news.
Oh, well, Joy, I will let you take over. You take over.
So I was looking at this because Tim was talking about Yungblud, who did the thing on the MTV Music Awards, and he was kind of like, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad, right, Tim? Was that kind of like your thoughts on it, I think?
It was okay. I said my problem was it was the renter crowd in the front, full of young, attractive, young, attractive people in their 20s are not excited about Steve Perry as Joe Perry and Steven Tyler and a bunch of old geezers playing Aussie songs. But they seemed incredibly excited because they were being paid to be there.
So it was just funny because Tim brought that up 2 or 3 episodes back, right, Tim? And I lose track of time, but I saw this, so I kind of picked up on it. I'm sure Tim did the same. And so basically Aerosmith teamed up with Yungblud for their first new song in 12 years. My Only Angel will appear on their upcoming Yungblud Aerosmith 5P EP called One More Time. And it just came out on the 19th. We're recording this about 2 days later. To be fair, me and Tim were supposed to record this episode 2 days ago, so I know why we both had this on our music news. Is that kind of what you read from this kind of thing, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's fine. I mean, this Yungblud has gone from complete obscurity, certainly in my book, to being high profile overnight, thanks to his version of Changes at the Ozzy Osbourne concert. But I mean, it's fine. But I mean, I don't think he's not the next huge thing. I don't think it's fine. But I don't listen to it and I go, wow, rock and roll is saved. It's like, yeah, that's all right.
Well, I just find this interesting because, for context, this is literally what the little thing here says. Aerosmith and Yungblud Young blood. I don't know. It's spelled with a U. Take it however you want. The latter, in particular, faced criticism for the recent collab at the VMAs during the Ozzy Osbourne tribute with the Darkness guitarist Dan Hawkins. He called it another nail in the coffin of rock and roll, and his brother, frontman Justin Hawkins, said labeling Yungblud a poser, and I thought that was a little uncalled for. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I saw the Instagram posts that Dan Hawkins put up, and he had a screenshot of the MTV Awards and he was going on a tirade. Now, I don't completely disagree with some of the points that him and his brother made.
Is it necessary?
No, it's not necessary. Because as I said before, the music industry is a very small place. And it's highly likely that the Darkness are going to interact with a promoter, a manager, a staging company, or some other kind of industry thing that touches Yungblud. And you probably don't want to do that.
Well, what I got from this, Tim, is that Steven Tyler was like, that was rude, uncalled for. Let's help a young artist. And that's what they did. Am I crazy? Did you not get that? That's what I got from this. They said, we kind of like him. Let's promote a young new artist. It doesn't have to be us versus them, right? And so I think they read these statements and these kind of harsh critics and said, let's do something with him. Because the thing about it is one person that I really love for this, I've always said this on the podcast, Ellen John does a great job of like being like, why are we so anti new artists doing, you know what I mean, being and living, like, and he's like, it's the same thing that our predecessors did when we were in the 60s and we were in the 70s, like, you know what I mean, people from the 40s and 50s didn't like us that much either. So what I gather from this is Aerosmith, Steven Tyler was like, let's do a song together. People want to be so mean about it, but it is just music, Tim. They're not doing open heart surgery around here. Come on.
Sure. And I'd also like to say Yungblud, or as I like to call him, Dominic Harrison.
That's not his real name. I have no idea.
And he was in Emmerdale Farm. A British soap opera. Well, it's not even called Emmerdale Farm anyway, it's just called Emmerdale. But in my book, it's called Emmerdale Farm. But
well, you said that before, but I didn't know that was related. So Yungblud is British, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, Dominic Harrison. He's from Doncaster, which is in South Yorkshire.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Sounds right. Sounds like candy to me. But with that being said, did you not get that though? It felt like Aerosmith was like, we're going to put him on our wing after people were so mean to him. That's what I got. And I love the Darkness, and Tim loves the Darkness, but it's not exactly like they're making billions right now.
I mean, they're popular. They're out there touring.
Yeah, but was it necessary? Not really.
No.
All right, well, that's what we got. Did you have any other music news, Tim, or was that the end of your music news?
No, that is all I have.
All right, I have one bit of music news, and then we're going to get into a topic that is going to make Tim laugh, so everybody be prepared. I have specifically been thinking of this topic, and I have to give a shout out to someone we know. Did you know Taylor Swift is getting her own, like, full Sirius radio music channel, Tim? Have you seen that?
I think I saw something to that effect. Now, as we've spoken before, there are a number of artists that have their own Sirius channels that just play that music 24/7. The Metallica channel being the most recent one, up to the Taylor Swift one that we spoke about recently. Now, it doesn't surprise me, but as we said on a previous episode, Sirius XM satellite radio sounds terrible, and it's probably nothing you can't replicate with Spotify or the like.
Well, for those who are Swifties who listen to us, apparently it's channel 13, and that means something if you're a Swiftie. I don't know. I think there was an album called 13, Tim. They're going to come for the internet is going to come for us on this episode because I don't know by Taylor Swift knowledge. I think 13 was an album. I think it was. But anyway,
I have no idea.
With that being said, she has her own Taylor Swift channel. So if you do have Sirius XM, you can get Taylor 24/7, I guess. Channel 13. So that's the end of this. I don't know enough. Now, I will say, I do have a surprise pop-up if you will make it to the end of the episode, Tim. We have a Flight of the Conchords, specifically the Yoko Ono episode follow-up that we will talk about at the end of this podcast.
Okay.
Because there was a call out in the last episode, and I said, I have been watching, but I specifically want to talk about the Yoko episode.
Okay.
Tim's like, that's so on brand. All right. So if you have been listening to this podcast, we've talked about words are hard, hard as words, and Joy have made. Great example. Joy made a very interesting blunder 2 episodes ago where I was trying to say two-hit wonder and I said two-hit heroes. Tim stared at me. I stared at Tim. Laughter happened. And then I figured out what I was trying to say. So this, Tim, is an episode about two-hit wonders, aka two-hit
or
heroes.
as I'm going to call it, 2 to 3 hit heroes.
That's exactly what I wanted to call it. So this is a two-hit heroes episode. By heroes, they wrote some songs that people liked once.
Or twice.
Or twice, or 3 times. So anyway, that is what it was. It was so funny. So Phil Reese, who's been on this, wrote me, and he was talking to me about the Y2K episode and laughing about how, Tim, no offense to Tim, he'd be like, Tim not knowing Beyonce was kind of weird, but I can't say I didn't expect that to happen. He goes, I will say from a person who grew up in England, no, Phil did have some time in America too as a child, I think. Mm-hmm. But he was like, yeah, a lot of that was from American Bias. So it's like, I did know a few more songs than Tim, but not that many. But he wrote me, it was talking to me about this. And I was like, well, be prepared. In the next episode, there is a very funny joke. So this was a joke. And I explained to him what happened. He thought it was hilarious. And that is why I picked this episode.
There we are.
So anyway,
I think this is going to be a great episode. The big 2 to 3 hit heroes episode.
What they're heroing, no one will know. So I went on the internet and did what songs are people are known for 2 to 3 heroes as a person does when they're in 2025 and doing research. And I came up with this list. It's from like this really unknown artist magazine thing, Tim. It's called The Rolling Stone. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Mm-hmm. Seems fake, but anyway. So these are what's known as, and they literally called them greatest two-hit wonder hits of all time. And I'll be curious to see if how much this is coming from an American's perspective, because there have been many times where I have thought someone was 1-hit, 2-hit, 3-hit wonder, and Tip's like, no. In England, they had like 7 songs. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like, Aha being the one, because I remember seeing USMTV in the early 2000s, and they were going on about how Aha was just a one-hit wonder, and I'm like, no, they weren't.
And like Tim's like, what are you talking about? And it's so funny because, and there's been times when Tim said that to me, and I'm like, who are you talking about? Like, I don't know anything besides insert this song here. So it's just funny to see. So I'll be curious to see if this episode produces some of that. With that being said, the number one-hit hero, so that's what we call them.
Are you going with 1-hit heroes or 2-hit heroes?
Two-hit hero here. I said 1 because the number was 1 that I was looking at. The number 1 two-hit hero was Men Without Hats, and the songs they're claiming is Safety Dance, and Pop Goes the World.
Well, the Safety Dance is legendary. And
but Pop Goes the World? I don't know if I know that.
Certainly from a UK perspective, I'm not familiar with their follow-up hit, but I have heard of that song. So it doesn't surprise me that they come under the 2-hit hero banner.
But they were reading, Tim, I've never heard Pop Goes the World. So from an American perspective, no, they're one-hit wonders. I don't know.
Maybe their second hit got to number 12 or something.
I don't know. Let's Google it. Let's Google it live on air because I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I did not. I was surprised this was even on here because I'm like, Pop Goes the World. Apparently they were Canadian. I didn't know that. It says in the U.S. it was number 20. Where's the U.K.? 11. It's not really that high for either of them to be completely true. I'm calling that one out because I'm like, really? I find them to be a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, but at least the follow-up hit didn't go to number 97 or something.
That's true, but I don't think I would recognize. Would you recognize Pop Goes the World if someone played it? Because I don't think I would.
No, I would have not recognized that.
Thank you. All right, then I'm not great. Now, this one I do agree with. This is Gold Earring. This is number 2. It's Radar Love, of course, their biggest hit of all time. And number 2 is The Twilight Zone. Are you familiar with both these songs, Tim?
I'm obviously very familiar with the first one, Radar Love. The second song, no, I'm not familiar with. I'd be interested to know the chart position. I will tell you, at a jam session many, many years ago, probably maybe even 30 years ago at this point, I
Yeah.
once performed Freebird with the drummer from Golden Earring whilst I was playing a white 5-string Aria Pro 2 bass.
Of course you did. All right. There's so much to unpack in that statement, but I'm just gonna pretend. So apparently, Twilight Zone was number 10 in the US, but I'm curious to know what it was in the UK or England or whatever it was at the time. You know what I mean? Great Britain, whatever you want to call it. Sorry guys. There's a lot of controversy there. Sometimes I feel like when I say UK, everybody's like, that's not right anymore. And I'm like, I don't know.
Well, I will tell you, I was in that neck of the woods twice in the last few months, and more or less universally, it was referred to as UK. And
Okay, good.
even when
Then
you
I'm not
arrive,
crazy. I feel like that's right.
yeah, when you arrive at Heathrow, it actually says UK arrivals, United Kingdom arrivals. But of course, the south of the south of the country, you'd call England, United Kingdom, Great Britain. I mean, there's things you can call it, but I would say more or less universally, it was called the UK.
Okay, good. Well, that's what I keep saying, but then I'm always like, oh my gosh, they're going to judge me. All right. So, Golden Earring Twilight Zone reached number 5 on the UK singles chart in 1982. It said it was there for 12 weeks, so it actually did better in the UK than in America.
Well, there you go. I mean, I probably just know the big hit, to be honest.
I mean, to be fair, we're talking about 2-hit heroes here, so there might be a little bit of 1-hit heroes too. You never know. I'm going to skip that band because I don't know who these peoples are, and I don't think Tim would either. So we're going to move along here. Now, this one I definitely know. We will both know. I've talked about there is a very specific song that is my go-to when I'm feeling stressed in the world and need to let out a lot of energy. And I've told Tim this many times. This is quite right. The two songs are "Bang Your Head," aka "Mental Health." And then the second one is "Come On, Feel the Noise" with some very interesting lyric song spellings.
Yeah, well, of course, Come On Feel the Noise is a Slade cover.
It is.
Famously a Slade cover, and I believe Oasis even covered it as well.
They did.
But certainly from a US perspective, most people think that song is a Quiet Riot song rather than a Slade song.
But Joy's favorite is "Bang Your Head." I've said this many times. The intro, I don't know what Tim would probably be able to explain it to you better than I can because he plays music for a living and I do not. The intro to "Bang Your Head" with that breakdown with the guitar riffs is probably that. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tim? There's a very dramatic intro to that song, and then the "Bang Your Head" Mental Health. Now, I will say there's 2 reasons why this song is my go-to when I'm stressed and just need to let out a lot of anger. It's because of the movie Footloose. So, which is such a weirdly nuanced thing that a lot of people are screaming, "Why Footloose, Joy?" But if you've never watched the original Footloose, so my mom, when I was growing up, her favorite movie was Footloose. It's just known in my house that was my mom's favorite thing. And so I've watched this movie a bajillion times. That's a real number, by the way, bajillion. And so when he's in his little Volkswagen that he soups up and he's in this town, the 1-horse town that he can't listen to music or dance in, what song is he playing? He's playing "Bang Your Head." And he has a little cable, Tim, that he's pulling to even start it. It's just this ghetto kind of bug he soups up, and "Bang Your Head" is playing. And that's the one he's driving down the road, and these people who are anti-music pull him over, and everybody yells at him, and so on and so forth. So it sticks out to me. And I've heard that song for so long, for that moment, that iconic moment of someone kind of just being in their element and sticking it to the man, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, and the way this movie was doing it. So it's always been but that literally that kind of the intro to it, where it's very separated, it's very dramatic. When I feel like I just want to let out a lot of energy, this song I go to, and it's probably because of that movie.
There we are. Well, I can tell you I've never seen the film Footloose.
I mean, that's fine. But you get what I'm saying. It's not that hard to figure out. He was basically the rebel kid listening to Bang Your Head in his little doom buggy that he like basically put together himself and remodeled. And he was from out of town and he didn't know that you weren't allowed to listen to music and or dance or have fun and so on and so forth because it was a footloose town. That was there you go, everybody. If you've never watched Footloose, I mean, that's basically the movie.
Dancing is banned, ladies and gentlemen.
And they work hard to get it unbanned, so on and so forth. That's the movie. I will say I do love that movie.
They work hard to get it unbanned. You should write the things they used to have in the newspaper. Footloose. Dancing is banned. They work hard to get it unbanned.
That's kind of the gist of the movie. It starts to think about Christians telling them no, and you got the whole movie. And burning books at one point. The movie. But I will say the music in it's great. It's a great movie. Even if you've never heard the movie or saw the movie, Tim, the soundtrack's amazing.
It's got Denise Williams' Let's Hear It for the Boy. That's a great song.
Amazing soundtrack. So, and I've said this many times on this podcast, movies for me that I actually really like are defined by the soundtrack. Shocker, right? Probably no one would guess that. So that's probably why I love this movie. But that is what sticks out to me about Bang Your Head. Come on, Feel the Noise. I will say it's a take you to live it for me because I feel like I've almost overplayed it. It's almost overplayed in America. I don't know if it's a UK thing, but in America for sure it's like a go-to.
No, I only found later on that Quiet Riot covered it because in the UK, the only thing you would ever hear like that would be Slade. Slade are almost like Tom Jones and Chaz and Dave and other such musicians like that are really well known in the UK and completely unknown elsewhere. Well, Tom Jones is known here, but you know that kind of popularity.
I mean, and what's funny is they're Merry Xmas everybody. Like in America, nobody knows what that is. But I feel like if I said that to Timmy, he'd be like, that was everywhere for 5 minutes.
Even now, I mean, till the end of time, people are going to be playing Slade's Merry Christmas, everybody.
But it's so funny because I've told this on the podcast a few times. I had this weird thing where when I was younger, and I was probably 14, 15 years old, I was in a chat room where we were doing music trivia. That's all I was doing. I was very innocent in my early internet usage, to be honest with you guys. And it's funny because looking back now, most of the people who were in that chat room, for whatever reason, Tim, were in the UK. Probably people that are probably members of the Freak Jam now, to be completely transparent with you. And all we would do is somebody would play their music and we'd be guessing the songs. And I had heard Slade a few times on there. But because it was never played on American, media, I could not figure out what that song was. And my brain kept going, I like black and white, dreaming in black and white. And I was like, what the heck is this? Why can't I find it? I went down the biggest rabbit hole of my life. And I almost thought I was making it up at one point. Slade is so, Tim could be honest with me. Be honest with our listeners. If you went out into the world and said Slade in America, it would be hit or miss. It would be.
It would be mostly miss at this point. No, I mean,
thank you.
I think even in the UK, I think a little bit of their power is fading. Certainly, with newer generations would probably not be super aware of Slade outside of the Christmas song.
Let's think 80s and 90s UK.
Oh,
they would know
80s
who Slade
and 90s.
was.
People are going to know who Slade was.
But I literally went through this thing where I was like, what is it? Why do I remember that? And it's because when I was in those chat rooms that people were in the UK, right, Tim, who were a little bit older than me, were playing that song. And I kept saying, I love that song. Where's that song? It almost took me 3 years to find that song again. And it sounds ridiculous now because it plays on my playlist almost every other day. I didn't know Tim at this time. If I had told it to Tim, he probably would have corrected me. But it's just funny because I kept telling people, it's interesting because that song came out 1984, 1985, and I think it did crack the American. And I remember telling someone it's like a bagpipe song, which sounds really dumb. Mm-hmm. But in the video, they're wearing kilts and they're jumping around, and there's bagpipes playing.
Yeah.
And so in my brain, I'm and all I could hear was, I like black and white, dreaming and black. And I was like, where is that song coming from? It almost took me so many years. And then when I got on this podcast and learned Tim is basically a member of Slade, it all came 360, really.
I mean, when you have hi-fied Dave Hill
It's
from
true.
Slade, when you're incredibly intoxicated at Blazers nightclub in Windsor at the front of a conga line, I mean, effectively you're a member of the band.
100%. So the irony is that I just find it funny because I it's just one of those things that just like come full circle in my life. All right, next to the song. Next song. We did not talk about the actual song, but we get distracted. All right, so this one is an interesting two songs, but Tim will definitely know these two songs. I know these two songs. It's Wild Thing. It's Funky Cold Bonita by Tone Loc.
Yeah, Tone Loc he had an album called Loked After Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Funky Cold Medina, I believe, was the very first single, and then
Yep.
Wild Thing was later. Wild Thing has a sample of Van Halen's Jamie's Crying.
Mm-hmm. So it's saying Wild Thing reached number two, Funky Cold Medina reached number three. Now, what's so interesting about these, I will say, so it did take a sliver of Van Halen's Jamie's Crying. And I will say, he did say there's also a car backfiring in that song, Tim.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know. I can't pick that off the top of my head. But what's funny though is if you listen to we will not get into this on this podcast because this is an adult podcast. But for those who are adults who are listening to this podcast and are generally curious, go back and listen to the lyrics of Funky Cold Medina.
Yeah, it's a
It's a weird song.
it's a song about an aphrodisiac.
There's a lot to unpack there. I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. I'm just saying it has not aged well.
No, absolutely not.
And what's funny is it's one of those things like where we've talked about dirty dancing on this podcast that like as you're an adult and you're like, huh, that's weird. That's suspicious. It's fine. But I will say Wild Thing, I mean, might be I would be amiss to know how many movies that song is in, and how much money they made off of it.
I think it's in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, I think, which is something I saw once at somebody's house for 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, is that song in it?
It definitely is. It most certainly is because I watched that movie, so you are corrected. But it's also one of those songs that I think is used to create a lot of different like feelings and emotions in a movie, and it makes very sense why they would constantly use that song. I would imagine if you looked at the net worth of Ton Loc, whatever you want to call him, I don't know what you say, but it's pretty high. It's really high. It's probably
Yeah, I was just looking at what Mr. Locke's real name is. Oh, I think
What
we've
is his
come
name?
across this before. Anthony Smith. There we are. Tone Loc.
I think Tone Loc sounds better than Anthony Smith. You're gonna sing songs like Wild Thing and Funky Cold Medina. It's funny because I talked about on this podcast when I was like 16, I had this one teacher who would give us bonus credit because every Friday she would do a music trivia thing for our math class. And I was always winning it. Me and this other girl named Hannah were always in competition because she was pretty smart, Tim. I will give her that. But I do remember it's this song's it was Funky Cold Medina that started playing, but Hannah guessed Wild Thing because they do not sound that dissimilar if you're not really like you know what I mean thinking about it in the moment, Tim. And I was like, no, it's Funky Cold Medina, and I still remember I beat her that Friday. So that lives rent free in my head. Hannah's probably like, Joy, you're 35 years old. Why are you still talking about this? I remember we had a rival in that class. All right, let's move along here to our other two hit heroes, everybody. Here it is, Tim. Now, I will say, you said they are viewed as a one-hit wonder, but this list thinks they are a two-hit hero, everybody. It's Take On Me. The other song they're claiming, because it reached number 20, is The Sun Always Shines on TV.
Yeah, that was a huge song. Cry Wolf is another huge song. I mean, they had so many hits,
Yeah, it sounds right, but
But I
as an
think
American, I don't agree.
yeah, I think from from a US perspective, yes, they're only known as that one song. But like if like I'm pulling them up on the Spotify right now, let me see the songs that I've heard of them. Take on Me,
Okay.
Sun Always Shines on TV, Hunting High and Low, Crying in the Rain, Stay on These Roads, I've Been Losing You. I mean, these are all big hits.
Sounds like it. Maybe. I
And
don't
I
know.
like Cry Wolf as well. That's a good song of theirs. I mean, I was surprised to
Just
learn
never
this.
heard them.
Yeah. I mean, certainly if you look at the counts on the Spotify, Take on Me has 2.4 billion plays, whereas Sun Always Shines on TV has a lowly 121 million plays. But
I
even still, this band was huge, and they continue to be big.
Oh, we'll debate this. And what's funny is that we have a listener who's out of Australia, and she's talked about this a few times. It's just like, Joy, you're wrong. And I'm like, but from America's perspective, I just don't actively hear this. It's just so weird to think that, at this point, and I think in culture, we feel like we're all just so globalized, right, Tim?
Sure.
And what I think in someone else would probably generally be not that disfar. I don't think we're that disconnected anymore. Maybe it's gotten better, maybe it's gotten worse. I don't know. But it's always interesting, like when we did the Y2K episode, by the way, and Phil said it was hilarious when I went, so glad I could talk to myself about these songs. He was like, to be honest, it was really funny from it, like, because I was worried it wouldn't hit, but Tim's like, that was a pretty funny joke. I gotta give it to you, Joy. But he said, a lot of what I was thinking of was from an American perspective, and I'm sure it very well is. And it's so funny when I was saying, like, Tim, like that's like played at everybody's wedding, and Tim's staring at me like deer in the headlights. But I guess we just all have this perception that everybody knows what we know, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, in that episode when you was listing off all those songs, I honestly had no idea, and I'm not just
and I could
making it
tell
up.
you were like literally thinking. There was times where Tim was thinking hard, and he was like, "No, I have nothing."
Yeah, and I'm not, just trying to be wacky.
No,
I mean, I would tell you honestly, but I don't know. I just find that most music made in the 2000s, I have absolutely no knowledge of.
To be fair, Phil, who is a little bit younger than Joy, said he knew about 15% more than you, Tim. So it was not just you. So it was very interesting. And we talked about Phil earlier. Phil did grow up in America for a few years. I don't know how long. Do you know how long he was in America for?
I think he was there for a year or two when he was much
For
younger.
a few years. And so he does have a little bit of perspective, and I think he traveled a little bit, but he was even like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I was surprised. He did say that he thought the quotes about what happened on Watch Game were funny. So that was good. But it was just funny because it's constantly like, we didn't even meet for this. And what's funny is I feel like it's become like the niche on the podcast, right, Tim? Like we talk about, America versus the UK. That was never our intention, though. It happened organically.
Absolutely.
Am I crazy? Like, it never really came up before this.
No, I mean, I listened to a podcast called Tea and a Butty, where the chap they both live in the United States. The chap is from England and his wife is from the US. And a lot of their podcast is based around differences and similarities of US UK culture. They do food and they do TV programs and they go on trips and they talk about their experiences and stuff like that. Actually, it's a podcast I really enjoy. But this podcast was never built for that. That was not our MO. However, it has gone down that path, whether it be gas marks, road signs, zebra crossings.
Making my favorite was that episode where we were talking about elevators or lifts should be the same size of a casket. And I was like, well, how did they? And Tim's like, I don't know the detail. Like it's just funny because that was never our intention, but I think it just happened organically.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, off to the next one. we got a little tied up there. So this is another one that Tim will definitely know. This is the Cutting Crew. Oh, I just died in your arms tonight. Must have been, and then the next one is I've Been in Love Before, which I would actually agree with this one.
Yeah, I know both those songs. I know both those songs very well. I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight is probably the bigger hit of the two.
Of course.
But yes, from our friends at the cutting crew. I mean, they either went back to being hairdressers, I think.
Obviously. That might be, I mean, another song that's probably been used. If you were to turn on any radio station or in a CVS, as we make many jokes about, or go into a grocery store, I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight. It's probably playing on any of them right now, Tim.
Yeah. And you'll be pleased to know the cutting crew are still active as of today.
And they're not cutting hair. Good to know. But that might be one of, if I were going to say, probably one of the most iconic, very 80s-esque, everything I would define the 80s to be in America, it would probably be this song.
I think so. I think you're probably right.
I would put that up there. And then for the other song, I've Been in Love Before, while it was not as much of a hit, it's definitely probably maybe not playing in a CVS, but you could probably turn the radio on and it would be there.
Yeah, I think if you put Sirius XM's 80s on 8 on right now, you would probably find it.
And what's the lead singer's name? Nick Van something?
I've got the Wikipedia article up here. Nick Van Edie, maybe, and guitarist Kevin McMichael.
I've heard his name before, but I think he writes most of their music. But that intro, I'm just dying. I've never, it might be one of the most iconic opening to a song ever. To be honest with you, if you were going to ask people to pick an iconic opening song, I think that part right there, that where it hits that that whatever they hit in that note, Tim, and that background music is so very distinct to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's an iconic song. It's an iconic 80s song. It is the sound of a decade almost. But yeah,
agreed.
Great song.
All right. Well, let's move along because I got distracted. With that being said, this is one that I will find funny and Tim will find funny. But we have talked about this artist before on this podcast. This is Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Of course, the number one everybody is thinking of is Good Vibrations. And then the number two is Wild Side, which I'm going to be honest with you, I do not know. I don't know that song. Wouldn't know what if it was playing right now.
Now, in the interests of full disclosure, I'm aware of Marky Mark because I think Marky Mark used to be in New Kids on the Block. Is that correct? Is that was it Marky
It's
Mark?
not the same Marky Mark, is it?
It's Mark Wahlberg, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is. Yes, that is correct, Tim.
Okay.
It took me a second to put that together, but yes.
I've never heard that song. What the first one you said?
Good Vibrations? I think you have because it's not it's one of those ones that's just background music. There's not actual music. No one's singing anything. It's mostly just 90s kind of pump up the volume kind of music.
Okay, I'm going to play it now, and I will tell you whether I've heard it before, okay? It's just starting up, and it takes a while because I have an ad blocker. Here we go.
Because wasn't Donnie Wahlberg in New Kids on the Block and Mark Wahlberg's his brother?
You're probably right.
Yes, I am right. I just thought about that because Mark Wahlberg is the actor now. Donnie was his brother, was on New Kids on the Block. All right, see if you know that's all about Tim. It took me a minute, but I figured that out. Continue. Nothing.
I don't know if I've heard this before.
I mean, to be honest, it's mostly just background music nonsense. It's not really a song that you would hit or miss.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if I've heard that before.
So, to be fair, New Kids on the Block fans know Donnie Wahlberg, who is now married to Jenny McCartney, who, and we could get into a whole story about her, but we will not. She has some very interesting things about her. But his brother is Mike Wahlberg, who is an actor now, who's been in a lot of stuff. And it's funny because he is and he was also a Calvin Klein model for a while. I mean, to be fair, he wasn't exactly the musician of the century. Tim can tell you, by listening to that song you just listened to, what is your thoughts on it, Tim?
Well, the music that I've heard for the first time 2 seconds ago, it sounds like any generic 90s pop dance hit. Really?
with not a lot of words or anything, to be honest.
No, there's a female singer on there that sounds exactly like the singer on Black Box's Ride on Time. I don't know if
It's
it's the
the
same person.
same. It's the same woman that we've talked about who did the early 90s band. Oh, I can't think of it. They don't get credit for it. The African American two women. Oh, what are their names? I could look it up later, but there's a whole story behind it. But yes, Tim, they've sang on like a bunch of other early 90s music. So yes, you are correct.
There we go.
I mean, it's basically another version of Vanilla Ice. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay.
I almost think I'd rather Vanilla Ice over Marky Mark. And that's saying something. Now, this is an interesting band because I would say, in my mind, they're one hit heroes. We're going to keep using heroes because that is the going. But they're on the list. They're number 20. It's the Remembrance. Now, for me, the only song I think of, I'll be there for you, because I'm a Friends fan, right? For you. But there also had a song called Just the Way It Is, Baby.
Yes, so I know that song. I'm very familiar with that song. When we had MTV Europe many years ago, probably 30 plus years ago, when we first got satellite TV and we had MTV Europe. MTV Europe was a completely different station to MTV US, though it had the same branding, etc.
Of course.
They carried some of the videos that MTV US would, but they had a lot of regional programming. And at the time when I was watching it, it was mostly based around European music tastes rather than UK music tastes. And to the point where they'd read the time out in Central European time and UK time. So they'd say, oh, it's 4 p.m. Central European time and 3 p.m. UK, and this is blah, 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 because it was really going for...
Wait, what is the time zones, though? Who's in Central Europe time, Tim? I need a visual for this because I don't know that I know.
Central Europe is 1 hour forward from UK time.
So is that like France and Spain?
France, Germany, Belgium, Holland.
Okay, yeah, because it was like a 9 versus 8 hour difference. Got it. Okay.
When you get a little bit further east, then the time zones start to change. But the bulk of Central Europe is 1 hour off of UK time.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, I did know that. Continue.
Okay, so we used to get this, and you would get a lot of mainstream hits that MTV US would play, but you would start getting songs that were in English, but they were sort of tuned more for the European market. There's a song by the Creeps called Ooh, I Like It, which is a song that never ever did anything in the UK, which is sort of catchy. There's a song by a band called Laid Back, who I think were Belgian or something. I don't know.
So I was thinking Germany a lot when you kept saying this, so that makes sense.
There's a song called Baker Man, which has a really cool video where they're all skydiving, and it is absolutely amazing. And again, a hit that was famous for being on MTV and a European hit, but never did anything in the UK. But the Rembrandts, The Way It Is, was one of those songs that was on MTV Europe rotation. And before Friends came out and they had the Friends song, I'll Be There For You, I knew them as the band that did The Way It Is because it was on that MTV Europe rotation.
Interesting. I mean, to be fair, they're one of those bands that, like, I do know who they are, but I don't know that I could. If this song were playing, Tim, I don't think I could recognize it. I just don't. I just don't know that I've ever been. Now, I'll Be There For You for the people who don't know and have never watched the TV show Friends. Obviously, it's iconically the theme song of one of the most highly rated and watched sitcoms of all time, up there with like Seinfeld, right? And so I'm a big Friends fan. I did not grow. What's interesting about Friends, though, I didn't grow up in a household who watched Friends. So for those who don't know, you're talking early 90s, right? And I would have been a baby, child, toddler, elementary school student. And so my mom and dad never really watched Friends. It was only once I got older I really got into it because I went down the Friends and Seinfeld rabbit hole. And I love both of them and I thought they were amazing. But the song I'll Be There For You, my mom used to say, even though she didn't like Friends, she was like, they have one of the best theme songs of all time. so to be what it's worth, it's iconic. I just was surprised to see them on here because it wouldn't be anything that I would have went out of my way to think that it was a 2-hit, 3-hit, whatever wonder. Now, I have a question for you, Tim. And we're getting into a few different people that we haven't really talked about, but Do you remember this band from the early? And I do actually think you would have been popular in the UK because I don't think they're American. It was a '90s female band. It's called the band Dream.
D-Ream.
Dream.
Well, I remember a band called D-Ream who had a song called Things Can Only Get Better. But a band called Dream, I don't think so, no.
What? So I always think about, I mean, I didn't, Tim just, I need to go find out who these D-Ream are. You just like blew my mind. I've never heard any of those words. I'm like, is Tim speaking English right now?
Yeah, it was like D:"Ream.
Huh.
Things can only get better.
Oh, I've heard that song before. Yeah, I've heard that song, but I didn't know that's what they were. Well, I was thinking about he loves you not no matter what you do. He's never gonna. Okay, it's very pop '90s. I would have been into, but they're on this they're on this Two Hit Wonders thing, and I'm not sure if they were. I'm curious to know if Dream was an American band or not. Because
Yeah.
there was a lot of bands, and Tim can testify in the '90s, a lot of female of these bands, not just Spice Girls, but there was a lot of like subset bands that were coming out of the UK because they were after the Spice Girls and like Simon and all these people were basically mass producing pop music. It was happening a lot. It was coming out of the UK. Dream band from the '90s. Let's see. I'm curious. I don't know. They might have been American. I actually don't know.
Yeah, give it a goog.
Let's Google light on it. Oh, that's talking about clothes. Dream. No man, what's the song I was talking about? He loves you not. Because when I type Google Dream in, of course, Tim, I'm getting everything about dreams and not about the band.
Sure.
All right. Oh, where are they from? Oh, well, this is an interesting thing. Apparently, the group is signed to rapper Puff Daddy's record. So I guess they came out of California. But to be fair, they did give off the same aura as a lot of these like '90s pop bands that were coming out of the UK. So I wasn't 100% sure because like you've got like A-Team and S Club 7 and all this kind of stuff, Tim. And they felt that they were in that same room. I hope that
Okay.
makes sense. We've talked about S Club 7 and Steps on this podcast before. And we actually, Ian Husbands, he said he was either friends or knew people from Steps or S Club 7. I can't remember which one he told us.
It's Steps. It's one of the members of Steps he's very friendly with. And back in the era when everyone was not being kind to these 5 or 6 attractive people standing in a road type musician
course.
outfits, he was very quick to defend Steps and his friend from Steps.
Well, there you go, everybody. I did not know this. Now, I think this is a band Tim will know. I know he'll know at least one of these songs. This is General Public. I'll Take You There in Tenderness. Are you familiar with this, Tim? It's an English band. They are English.
General Public?
Oh my gosh. They're an English band, Tim.
General?
So it's a so English beat dissolve. Dave Walking and Ranking Roger hooked up with Dixie's Midnight Runners and the Clash Mick Jones. I'm not making this up. You've never heard this before? I know you've heard I'll Take You There. This was from 1994. It was number 22. Tenderness was number 27. And I mean, it's literally members of bands like the Clash, Mick Jones.
I'm listening to this now.
I feel like I've just been losing it here recently. I've definitely heard I'll Take You There. I don't know Tenderness, though. Couldn't tell you what that was.
I have heard this before, but I didn't know
Okay,
that.
thank you. Woo!
I didn't know it was called that.
I don't think I did until I did the research on this. And like, don't take it for what it is. But there's a lot of, I guess they're viewed as ska pop. I don't know what I find the level of when you become ska and when you become pop is. I don't know. When you think ska bands, what's the first thing that comes to mind, Tim?
Probably the Specials, maybe.
For me, it's the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Yeah, same kind of thing.
Not dissimilar. Also, early, no doubt, was ska, but they would probably never tell you they were.
Well, at the
And
very
they,
beginning of of their career, they were sort of a ska band, but then sort of Gwen Stefani became the focal point of that band, and then they sort of gave her a look, or she created a look, and then they became more kind of a pop band. They sort of ditched their ska roots.
yeah, she's also not in my wheelhouse right now. I'm not very happy with her as a person. She has disappointed me, and it's sad because I love No Doubt, and I know we can separate the music from the artist, and we've talked about this many times on this podcast. But she, as a whole, has disappointed me as a person. I'm not gonna lie. If you're
Well,
listening, Gwen Stefani, come here and talk to me. I have a lot of things to say.
there we are.
Because obviously, Tim, did you know Gwen Stefani listens to this podcast?
I mean, she typically does. I mean, the other day she was telling me, she said she can't wait for 7 p.m. on a Wednesday when it comes out.
Because we do not record ever on a Wednesday ever again. It's so funny about that because for the first year, me and Tim were so good about recording on a Wednesday. And then after the first year, it was, can you record today? No, I can't. Can you record today? Yeah, let's do this day. It all went out the window.
When we started, we didn't understand the concept of recording a lot of episodes and then maybe taking some weeks off. So we used to record on a Wednesday and then publish on a Wednesday, which was
Sure.
really not sustainable. So now
It was not.
we tend to record. We try and do a couple of times a week, and then we've had some life events recently that meant that we couldn't record. So, you always have uninterrupted service as a listener. But yeah, used to be Wednesday night was our recording night traditionally, but I typically practice with a band on the Wednesday now, and Joy's got things going on. So we just try and record whenever we can. Full disclosure, this is Sunday night.
And we recorded earlier this week already. We've done we've done a really good job of 2 to 3 episodes a week and then maybe taking a week or two off. All right. Now, this is a singer that I don't know if Tim would know the name, but I'm fairly certain you've heard at least one of these songs. And maybe you might not know them, but I feel like you would if you listen to them right now. This is Katie Tunstall is her name. Black Horse and a Cherry Tree. Have you ever heard that song, Tim?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then suddenly I see.
Yeah,
So
Katie
they're
Tunstall.
viewed-
She's
Yeah.
great. I have an album of hers in
Oh,
my
good.
in my permanent collection that I thrifted from a thrift shop. Yes, those two songs are probably her most famous works. I think I prefer Suddenly I See of the two, but Black Horse and the Cherry Tree is a good song, and she spells her name letter K, letter T, KT.
Yes. And I will say, so I was reading about this, and so she has, I guess she's Scottish, Katie Tunstall, which makes sense. But they said that it didn't capture the American ears, audience, whatever, until American Idol runner-up Kathy McPhee performed it. Then she performed a version of Suddenly I See. And by doing that, then she kind of became a little bit more popular in the US. And that makes complete sense to me because this is saying in 2006 she was number 20 on the charts in the UK. And then Suddenly I See in 2006 was also number 21. So she was charting both these songs at the same time. I will say completely transparency. I kind of heard these songs, but I didn't know much about them. And then as growing up as a kid, my mom did watch American Idol a little bit. So I remember hearing this on American Idol. And from our perspective, that is when I hate to say that someone covered it and that's when it became famous, but it was. It really was. Mm-hmm. That is, I really think, what made her transcend. Now, Big Black Horse and a Cherry Tree lives rent free in my head. I have sang that on karaoke. I have recorded versions of that song. It is one of my favorite go-to songs to sing. It's right in my wheelhouse as far as being a mezzo soprano, and it's just a really fun song.
Yeah, the whole of that album I have of hers
So
is
good.
really solid and is really good. I did just
wrong with
read
it.
that in 2021 she had to scrap a tour supporting Hall and Oates because she had problems with her hearing. She lost her hearing in one ear and she'd been suffering from tinnitus. I don't know whether she recovered from that for any degree, but I don't know. I wish Katie well, and I hope that did get resolved.
There you go. I will say I don't know much about her, but I did find her music to be very fun, easy to listen to, and it was a good balance of like folk music meets like pop music. Tim, like she did a really good job of transcending those two things. And I don't know anybody who could hear "Big Black Horse" at a cherry tree and their brain doesn't instantly start singing it now.
I think you're right. I said, even considering she's a quote unquote new artist, I'm very familiar with Katie Tunstall.
Tim says that when we're talking about someone from 2006. It is now 2025.
Joy, that is a new artist, a brand new artist in my book.
And I'm sitting here thinking about the fact that I was 15, I think, the first time I heard her. And I'm now 35, so it makes me laugh when you say that. But anyway, all right. Now, this is an interesting artist that Tim might actually know better than I do. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't recognize this name, but I think he may. Janice Ian from the 60s. Does it ring a bell?
Yes, I believe I have an album or two by Janice Ian in my collection.
They're saying her two hit hero songs are Society's Child, which was in 1967, and At 17 in 1975.
Yeah, I have the album of hers, Between the Lines, which is something I saw in a thrift shop and it looked interesting, so I bought it. It's kind of folky, but it's fine. It's someone I am familiar with.
I don't know much about her. It says, so this is what my music, and by music, I mean where I'm reading from. It says, Protest Records didn't get much weirder than Society's Child, produced by Shadow Martin, best known for ripping out signals for the Shangri-Las. This tale is of an interracial love written and sung by a 13-year-old Ian. I guess she wrote and sang that song when she's 13 years old, which is kind of crazy. 18 years later, at 17, Ian's put out a new song about a song being picked last for basketball. Sounds like an interesting song. And set a standard for the soul pop, you know what I mean, kind of whiner, grunge, groaner. Apparently, At 17 is literally her whining about being picked last for basketball, Tim. Didn't know that.
There we go.
It's kind of crazy to me that she's on this list. It says it was number 14 in the U.S. charts, and she wrote and sang the song at 13 years old.
Sounds absolutely fantastic.
Could you ever, like, I don't know about you, Tim, but at 13 years old, I do not think I could ever write and play a song.
At 13 years old, I was just starting to get competent on guitar. I think I wrote songs at school with a band I had that was called Stud that we've spoken about. But I mean, they were very simplistic. They weren't the quality of this kind of stuff.
Fair enough. All right. Now, I will say there's one song here that I definitely know. I love this song, but I did not know the name of this band. And Tim's going to laugh because this is a British group. He's going to know where I'm going with this. It's Right Here, Right Now by Jesus Jones. And then they have another song called Real, Real, Real.
Yeah. Jesus Jones were a band in the sort of the 90s, I suppose.
1990.
Yeah. And it was Right Here, Right Now. I'm more familiar with the hit than the second one, but they were a big thing for about 5 minutes.
That song, I mean, I will say that Right Here, Right Now. I did not know who Jesus Jones was when I was reading this list. I was like, who the heck is Jesus Jones? And then when I read Right Here, Right Now. That's what my brain did, Tim. It did that right here, right now. That's the one thing. And I was like, oh. And to be completely honest with you, Tim could tell you right now, if you turned on a local radio station in America, that song might be playing right now.
It's possible. However, it probably wouldn't get played because they called it Jesus Jones.
I mean, that is a possibility. It is America. We're in a very tribal time right now, so it's possible. Now, what's interesting about this is it kind of said it was like an electro song. I don't know if I ever thought it came off as an electro song. I don't know the song Real, 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 but I guess it peaked at number 4. In the UK and the US charts, I don't know.
They were in a similar ilk as Ned's Atomic Dustbin.
Yes, which I didn't know was a thing until Tim said it on this podcast.
Ned's Atomic Dustbin, who famously had 2 bass players, And there was a show called The Word that was on Channel 4. It was youth programming, late night on Channel 4. Very edgy, very controversial by a lot of standards. It was the first, I think it was the first ever TV appearance of Nirvana was on The Word. There was the band L7 famously appeared on The Word, and the singer famously exposed herself on network TV. It was a whole thing. Anyhow, that's beside the point. When Ned's Atomic Dustbin were on The Word, Oliver Reed was on there. And he was drunker than you would imagine, drunker than drunk. Like he could barely hold a sentence. And they were trying to interview in it, and it was ridiculous. And Ned's Atomic Dustbin somehow played Wild Thing. And Oliver Reed did a performance of Wild Thing with Ned's Atomic Dustbin.
We love it. I don't know why, but that's so funny to me. All right. On to the next one. Now, this is a song. This is a band Tim knows. This is a song I know. This is everyone who listens to this. If you've never heard this, I mean, you must live under a rock. It's Blues Travelers. You've got Run Around. You've got Hook.
Yep.
I don't know any other Blues Travelers song. Do you, Tim?
I mean, that was it. Blues Traveler 4 is like their most famous album. John Popper on the harmonica.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
They are thrift shop fodder. You will find 1,001 Blues Traveler albums in thrift shops for literally next to nothing. I would imagine when people had Columbia House and stuff, they were buying a lot of Blues Traveler albums because they come up all the time in thrift shops.
I mean, I 100% think, and that album, the Blues Traveler, is it literally like a cat on the front of their album, Tim?
Blues Traveler 4.
It's it's literally blue, everybody. Shocker. But that little cat on there, I don't go out and look for albums like Tim's saying, but I could see it, right? You know what I mean? Like, it is iconic to me. Maybe because I distinctly remember on my iPod, my 80 gig iPod that I won, everybody. We've talked about on this podcast before. Like, you know what I mean? You had the little album cover out beside it, and that one was one. Because I will say, it is a band I like. Like, I've listened to Run Around, a million, bajillion times.
Bajillion.
Hook's okay, but I've definitely heard Run Around. Now, to fall in line with that, when I think Blue Traveler, I think of another band that's on this. I think Spin Doctors, Two Princes, and Little Miss Can't Be Wrong.
Yeah, from the album Pocket Full of Kryptonite. They are a interesting band. They were all great players. I think some of them were session players. And both of those songs are incredibly well written. They're incredibly catchy. And that's pretty much everything that you need to know. They have another song called Jimmy Olsen's Blues, but I don't know if that was a single. It's certainly on Pocket Full of Kryptonite. The whole of that album is pretty good. I have a special edition expanded 20th anniversary version that I got in a Goodwill once for $1, and it was still wrapped. But great songs, but that's pretty much all you need to know when it comes to the Spin Doctors.
I have very distinct memories of the Spin Doctors because I think it was my junior year of high school or my senior year. I don't know. American Prom, everybody, which you guys have seen the dramatics, even on the U.S. You know, prom is very important. And I went with it would have been my junior year, actually, because my senior year, I went with a friend whose name was Brandon. So my junior year, I went with the on and off again romance that I had named Zach that I have no idea what happened to Zach, but he was there. And I remember sitting in his vehicle, and this defines the boyfriend that I had at this time and why he was an on and off again person. He was like, let me show you this album you've probably never heard of before. Like, just thought he was going to teach me something, Tim. He put on Two Princes Spin Doctors. Yeah, it didn't impress me very much. to invoke Shania Twain right there, right now, that did not impress me very much. I was like, do you think I live under a rock? Like, what a weird thing, Tim. It always cracks me up when people do stuff like that, and they're like, have you ever heard this song before? And you're like, yes, and so has everyone else in the night. Like, you know what I'm saying? Am I crazy, Tim? Have you ever had one of those moments when someone says something like that? You're like, it's not an uncommon song. Not by, or what's next? You're going to ask me if I've ever heard Madonna True Blue. I just think about that. And he really thought in that moment, Tim, he was going to teach me a new song. And I just stared at him.
There we go. Well, I tell you what, Joy, you've probably got time for one more.
Perfect. We're gonna do Cascadia every time we touch, and then of course every time we touch, I get this feeling, and then evacuate the dance floor, which is actually a remake, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, again, the first song that you mentioned is probably the big
Yeah.
hit of the two. No, it was a hit. It's not something that I super remember, but yes, I'm familiar with it.
I remember evacuate the dance floor because it has that like African German rapper in the background. Cascadia is an interesting thing because I think she became famous a little bit later in America than obviously she did in the UK. And, you know, I imagine she was being played for 5 minutes on every Berlin dance floor for a while, along with like Cotton Eye Joe or something. Redneck's Cotton Eye Joe. That's what I get from Cascadia. But I don't know. I mean, it's every time we touch might be one of the biggest songs that came out of that genre of music from that kind of like German dance oons, oons, oons sounds. Like, would you not agree that that might be the biggest one that came out of that? I think it would be.
Probably, unless you don't count David Hasselhoff, of course.
Of course not. What was I thinking, everybody? I am so sorry. But anyway, I also know the evacuate the dance floor was pretty popular for like 5 minutes. Now, I'm assuming I keep saying Cascadia is from Germany. Are they from Germany, Tim? Am I right?
I don't know. Probably.
Let's give it a go because I keep saying that. They seem German, but someone's probably screaming at me telling me that's wrong. Oh, German Music Act. Yay! They just give that like EDM early German music vibe. I'm not crazy, right? So I was correct. I was correct, everybody.
Yay!
The internet can back down. All right. So I'm going to leave everybody with this because Tim was like, we only have a little bit longer. I have been watching The Flight of the Conchords. Tim has sent it to me. I was familiar with the concept of these two Australian guys with their band.
Whoa, 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 Joy. They are New Zealanders.
Oh my God, now the internet is going to come for me. Okay, they're from New Zealand, everybody. Thank you, Tim, for that correction. But they're starting their band. They moved to New York. They've got the incompetent band manager.
Murray.
No, I will say the episode that has stuck out to me is the Yoko episode about Brett's girlfriend, Coco.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's an early season 1 episode.
It is. It was episode 4. That was the last one that I had watched before we talked last time. I'm about 2 episodes in. But I just want everyone to know the oh no gag. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tim?
I do indeed.
Fantastic. So I want to read this to everyone. So, Jermaine pretending to cough in front of Brett and Coco. Yoko. Brett, what did you say? Jermaine, oh, nothing. Just have a bit of a cough. Jermaine, no, it wasn't a real cough. I said Yoko. What'd you say? She's nothing like Yoko. Jermaine, oh, no, she isn't. Murray corrected Jermaine. Jermaine, you're putting oh, no together like, oh, no. Jermaine, oh, no, I didn't. Murray, you did it again. Jermaine, oh, no, did I? And I'm hoping everybody understands Coco was the name of the girl. She was breaking up the band, reference to Yoko Ono.
Absolutely. I think that's when her and Brett met at the sign holding business.
It is. It absolutely is. And the way I laughed, I was like, okay, I see why Tim said this to me. And to be completely honest with you, besides the fact that I forgot they're from New Zealand, the humor in this equates to everything that Tim loves, and I could see it from a mile away.
Yeah, as you get into the second season of Flight of the Conchords, there are some absolute classic episodes.
I don't know. I thought that was pretty classic, so it's probably only going to go up. I'm on episode 6 of season 1 now, so I watched about 4 episodes in these 2, but I just want everybody to know that if you've not watched anything, go watch the Coco episode or Yoko
fabulous.
episode.
It is fabulous, but I think some of my favorite episodes are in season 2.
Well, I will give you a update when I watch the rest of them because I'm on episode 6 of season 1. And the way I laughed at the stupidity behind this, but the amazingness at it, perfect, Tim. It was perfect.
Splendid. Well, I'm glad I could share that with you, Joy.
All right. Would you like to leave the people with anything?
Okay, so firstly, I'd like to make a recommendation.
Oh.
I recommend you check out a band from Sweden called Royal Republic. They have a new album out, which is great. However, they have released a single that's not on the album, and they are like a black metal band, I suppose. They wear makeup on stage and that kind of stuff. They do a cover of Staying Alive. It is absolutely amazing. They also cover I'm So Excited and Venus, which are pretty good. But Staying Alive by far is great. They somehow make this song work in that genre, and the video is hilarious. And it references a George Michael video, and it references the original Bee Gees video. Check it out. That's my recommendation for the week.
Woo! All right, I Googled it so I could watch it as soon as we close this episode. All right, was there anything else?
Just be kind to everybody that you meet.
I agree. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
To remind me of another day to